Hello everyone, Verixis here. So the Shark Fight update is over. With its ending, we finally get to see what a fully fleshed out depth community might look like, complete with all its ups and downs. I'm going to go over a lot of points in this video. It's the largest script I've ever written, including some numbers and some painful news that many of you might not want to hear. But buckle up, kids, because we're going to be taking a look at the effects and aftermath of Depth's largest update ever. First, let's start off by talking about the player count for Depth. Shark Fight dropped on May 25th of 2017. For most of May, the player count was pretty average for a non-sale month, sitting around 225 average players a day. For the entire month of June, when Shark Fight was active, that number almost tripled to 630 average players a day. Considering its peak player count was sitting at about 1,650 players at one time for the month, that's an amazing change to player retention in over 30 days. Remember, the Depth has always had an issue with new player retention, even though the flow of new players is fairly consistent. Now, this is not the largest update in terms of sheer numbers. That would go into the July 2015 update, where a peak number of 10,000 players was up at one point. This is the time when I joined the game. But this is single-handedly the most consistent amount of people that have been playing, at least according to Steam charts. So we got a boatload of new people to play with, and have stuck around for a bit to play in the Shark Fight update. Now, how did this affect the voting for the two sharks in question? Well, I can say it wasn't a good thing for #TeamWhiteTip, let me tell you. Going off my own personal experiences with the community and several other musings from other veterans, I can safely say that Team Whitetip was composed of mostly veterans who have been part of the game's community for quite some time, and that Team Goblin was almost overwhelmingly newer players, with a few notable exceptions. The final score was just over a 6-to-4 ratio in favor of Team Goblin. The developers were watching the score for a while and even showed concerns that the only reason that Team Goblin was winning was due to a sheer number of new players flocking to the game and picking the shark that simply seemed the most interesting. Because veterans were a fairly small group, even if we earned on average far more points in game, we couldn't stand up to the sheer overwhelming flood of new players. The devs nodded to this by stating that out of the top 100 contributors, 60 of them were for Team Whitetip, and the number one contributor, Wiverus, was on Team Whitetip. Now, poring over these statistics and attempting to do what's right for your player base is not an enviable decision. Now, obviously Goblin won, so it's going to get added to the game. But if Goblin won merely because of newer players, who are statistically not likely to stick around, how are your veterans going to feel? After all, they are the group that is most likely to stick around after the sale and the events are over, and will be the ones continuing to keep your game alive until the next sale or next update comes along. If they busted their asses off in an update that will literally change the flow of the game, only to be smashed by a tidal wave of essentially transient players, what do you do as a developer? Digital Confectioners did what they thought was right. They let Goblin win the day, but Whitetip will be added into the game later as a sort of a thank you to the veteran players who fought on, regardless of any chance that they may or may not have had. If the fight were closer in its spread, I don't think we would have had two sharks added to the game. I think the nature of the competition and the type of divide between its competitors fundamentally altered the outcome of this event. Which brings me to my next point. I am absolutely disappointed with this community's reaction to both the event during its run and its outcome. This is not pointed at everyone. This is pointed at just enough of you to make me notice. While the event itself was a fantastic success, it brought some very ugly drama bubbling to the front of the pot. Veterans and new players alike, both on Team Whitetip and Team Goblin, there were way too many people name-calling, heckling, harassing, and downright abuse flung in both directions. Playful ribbing is one thing. I do this quite frequently in the beginning of most of my matches during the event. But calling people mindless trash heaps because they didn't vote for your shark is too far. Too many people forgot what being part of a community is supposed to be, and forgot that friendly competition is supposed to be friendly. Everyone needs to remember that if we have an event similar to this in the future, because we are the Depth community, and not the League of Legends community, we can be civil, and we must be. Continuing on, I must ask that members of both teams, and of all the community, not spend the next few teams gloating for either winning the event, or gloating that your shark got put in anyway. We both got pieces of content that we wanted, and that is a good thing. Again, let me stress that. We got new content regardless. As a last topic, I want to answer a question I've seen crop up on the forums quite a bit in the aftermath of Shark Fight. If we ended up getting both sharks, what was the point of Shark Fight? One, as I've said before, I don't think the devs ever planned the event to end this way, but the situation that unfolded over its course dictated their actions. Secondly, the event was initially about friendly competition and spurring the community to be more active and engaging with each other. And to that end, Shark Fight was a wild success. Despite the drama, I have never seen more friendly, active people in this game than since I've joined in 2015. It's an amazing feeling watching a community that you identify so strongly with grow and prosper. Finally, a word to the developers. James, Will, Neil, Sam, Zenobia, and everyone else who works for Digital Confectioners to bring us this game and all of its updates. Thank you. Can't imagine what it's like to be in your shoes and trying to make decisions for the long-term health of the game. Your transparency is very much appreciated, and frankly, your willingness to take statistics into consideration with context means the world. I think you guys truly did the right thing for everyone. Try not to let the anger of a few people attempt to discourage you from trying something new in the future. Thank you for everything you do, and all you put up with. This event might be over, but I hope to still see you in the water. Bye, guys.